Okay, we're going to move on to Module 5. And Module 5 deals with, I think, some of the more fascinating or interesting or useful tools in Microsoft Excel. And we're going to deal with tables and pivot tables. And the first part, I know you guys have all seen pivot tables before because we use them in statistics. Tables are, the precursor to pivot tables. Don't have as much of the slicing and dicing of data, but can be quite useful for a lot of reasons. So today we're going to focus on tables. And if we look at some of the things that we're going to be able to do, we're going to create a range of data and make it into a table format. Then we can apply table styles to it. We can do sorting, we can do filtering, we can do subtotaling. A lot of ways for us to get down to the nitty gritty and some terminology. Every table has a name. Okay? In general, the first name is table 1, the second one is table 2. We're going to learn how to change those names so we can refer to them later. We call each column, if you will, it can go by a header. There's always a header row in a table, so a table has to have a header row. And we call that header row, those are fields. Okay? If you guys have ever learned anything about databases, think about the table as a file or a table. And then every column is a field, it's a characteristic, and every row is what we call a record. Okay, a record is like a person or a thing. It's one unique thing. So that's what we're going to talk about here. We can rearrange these, we can sort these, we can add, we can delete. Some other things, we see the table styles, we can filter, and we have other things we can do. So what I'd like to do is if we go to Blackboard and let's go to Module 5 and Module 5 data files, and let's go under tutorial, and we're going to bring up museum. And we're not going to submit this, so you can put your name in it if you like. If not, we're going to work primarily over here on the art collection worksheet. Okay, before we get into, you guys all have this up? Able to get that from Blackboard? Okay, before we get into that, one of the more useful things is a lot of times we're dealing with a lot of data. Okay, this is the era of big data. And I think this one maybe has 118 rows in it or records in it, but sometimes we have thousands and thousands. And one thing that we want to do is, if you've ever had a spreadsheet where you're down the bottom, you're like, I don't know what this field is or what this row is. One of the nice things we can do is we can freeze panes. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. So let's go up to the view, okay, and you'll see under view, under the window. Okay, see the window grouping. There's a drop down here for freeze panes. And one of the more common things we do is we freeze the top row because that has our headers in it a lot of times. So what that means is now as I scroll down, even if I go down to record whatever, okay, it leaves that top row frozen, so I know, hey, this field or this column is title, and this field is date acquired, and this field is condition. Sometimes as well, we have very long records. Maybe we're over there in column QQ, okay, and we may want to hold on to the art ID or name or whatever it might be. So if we go to freeze panes as well, we can freeze the first column. Okay, so if I go to the left now, I know there's nothing over here, but say there was, we could freeze that as well. I'm going to go back to my first cell using Control and home. Okay. And a lot of times we want to maybe freeze both. Okay, so the way we can freeze both is if we put our cursor in the corner of the column row we want to freeze. So we want to freeze column A, and we also want to freeze row 1. So if we put our cursor into B2, it'll freeze what's above and what's to the left of it. So if we go to freeze panes now, and just click on freeze panes, whoops, I guess I just want to go here and click on freeze panes. Okay, it should have froze both, but it didn't. Oops. Let's unfreeze everything. Let's try it again. Okay, that might be the problem. I unfroze everything. It got rid of that, and then I went to cell B2 and just clicked on freeze panes, not freeze top row, not freeze first column. And now you'll see it has frozen, both things. So no matter if I go, how far down I go or how far up I go, we can always see that first row. Robbie, you shaking your head. Is there an issue?
If you go down, is it supposed to 1, 2, 3, are those all supposed to keep like that? Isn't it just supposed to stay there?
Which, it does stay there, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, never mind.
What do you mean, Robbie? Because
like when you scroll on the side, isn't it supposed to just stay?
What part is supposed to stay?
Column A.
Well, column A should stay if I scroll this way.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because why we do this is, let's say we're in, well, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense for this one, but say we're the whole way down in, I don't know, cell, K106, okay? And if I don't freeze that, well, I can't see the column A, which maybe has a name in it or, an ID, and I can't see row 1. So usually that has a header record in it. So when I freeze both, now I know, hey, this is item 107, and if K was, I don't know, the color of it, we know the color of it as well, okay? Now just, let's unfreeze those panes, and let's say we want to see, let's say we want to see the artist. Let's say we always want to see the art ID, the artist, and the title, and also all the headers. Where would we go to freeze panes at this point? If we want to see the first 3 columns and always the top row, where would we go to freeze panes here? Zach, what do you think?
Where it says Red Rock Mountain.
Okay, if I go to Red Rock Mountain, I'm not going to get the title. Okay, I'm going to get the art ID and the artist. But if I want the title as well, I would go to D2. Basically, if you think about it, it's going to freeze everything on the outside of that. Okay, above it and to the left of it. So now, and hopefully you unfroze the panes. If I go to freeze panes, okay, now, no matter how far right I go, I'll always see those first 3 columns. So sometimes it's more than that. Maybe you want to see the first name is, in column A, and the last name is in column B. So that can be very useful when I'm navigating large data sets, okay? I'm going to unfreeze all those panes, now that we know how to do that. Okay. Questions on that? It is very useful, very helpful. A lot of times I get large data sets from people, and it's difficult to navigate because they don't know how to do that, so I do it for them. And they're like, wow, that saves me a lot of time because I always have to scroll up to see what column I'm in, and it's a very simple thing to do. So the next thing I want to do is go back up to, hit your control key and home again, and go to A1. Doesn't really matter where you are, but let's go to A1. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this data, okay, and it's structured in such a way that it can be treated as one object, because and this is common, every row is the same. It has an art ID, it has an artist, it has a title, it has a date acquired, so forth and so on. It's really a file. So we're going to make it a table. So anywhere in, well, we're in A1, go up to Insert, and on the far left, under the Table group, you'll see Table. So go up here to Insert and Table. And it's going to ask us, it's going to make some assumptions, and it's going to be right. It says, where is the data for your table? And it's an A1 to H116. And the last thing is, does your table have headers? And it does, right? It has a row that serves as headers. So I'm going to leave that checked, and I'm going to click OK. Now, a couple things that's real nice about this. Now, it's treating all this data as distinctly, but also as one object. Okay, it is one object. It's a collection of data, one object. What's nice as well is it has, just like our graphs did, it has some nice features where I can change the style quite quickly and easily. So if I click off of this, let's click over here on J4 perhaps, you see my table tools went away. If I click back anywhere on the table, you see my table tools come back up. So a couple things, just look at a couple things up here. I'm not following along exactly in the book, but one nice thing is you see instantly these table styles. Okay, so if I click on the drop down, there's a whole bunch of different styles here. There are different colors, different shadings. You can make your own table styles. Let's just pick one. I kind of partial to the green. I kind of like the green. Not that one. Let's do this one. Pick whatever one you like. I like that one. Okay. Okay, some other things we see out there. So that's the style of it. That can dress it up as well. And what really increases the readability in a lot of cases is we don't have any grid lines, but the banded rows. Okay, and if we click on this over here on our table style options, we have banded rows, meaning it's dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. If we unclick that, you know, we got rid of the banded rows. Okay, if we click it again, okay, it's there. All right, there's some other things. We could also do banded columns if we like. So now the columns are, and it's hard to do both. Well, let's click off banded rows. Okay, now we have banded columns. You can see what I'm saying? It's alternating columns. So that can increase the readability for viewers of this data. I'm going to go back to banded rows. Okay, now by default, this is now its own object. This is a collection of all these cells, but because they are basically the same thing, up here in the upper left-hand corner, you see it says Table 1. Well, that's not a very descriptive name for this. Okay, this is a lot of times in a workbook and a worksheet we have multiple tables going on at once, and we want to give it a more descriptive name than Table 1, Table 2, Table 3. So let's go up here under Properties and click on Table 1 so it highlights it. And I think it wants us to call this Art Objects. And you can't use any spaces in the name of this table. You can't say Art Space Objects. So a lot of times we use capital and uppercase and lowercase letters. You know, you guys have done that before. So A capital and O capital, so we can see the different words. So now this table is referred to as Art Objects. All right, so a couple things if we talk, the book goes into maintaining data in a table. We all good? Everyone good? Okay, so maintaining data in a table. If we wanted to change anything, obviously it's just the way we change anything else in Excel. So if we want to say the artist of Red Rock Mountain is now, you know, Miko, we can put in Miko there, just changing it. If we want to, there's a couple ways to do this. But say we want to insert a new item. If we go under the Home tab, you know, the main one, the Home tab, over in the cells grouping, you guys see the cells grouping over here? Click on Insert, and let's insert a table row above. Okay, now you see above where we are, it inserted a table row, and it kept the same formatting, right? It kept the banded rows. A lot of times I've seen people try to create banded rows on their own. They shade, they shade, they shade, you know, every other one. And then when they add something, hey, it throws everything off, you know, and then they have to re-unshade and shade. So this does all that for you. So let's put in, let's put in one, let's call it 201. And let's put in Smith. And the title is, let's say Francis. And we'll put a date in. And it is a painting. It is in fair condition. Let's say it's in the garden. And it's worth $5,000. Now, if I want to delete a row, and I don't care which one you pick, well, let's all pick the same one so our numbers came out better. Let's delete Chico's Spring Flowers. It was involved in an accident. So if we click on that, well, we can click anywhere in there, and go up under Home Cells, and we can delete a table row. Under Delete, go down, delete table rows, and now Chico is gone. So all I did was anywhere in that row, I go to delete table rows, and it's gonzo. Now really one of the fantastic things about tables is the ability to very quickly get down to some data that you really want to see. Okay, and a lot of times, you know, this is only 116, 117 records, but a lot of times we're dealing with tens of thousands of records, and it's very tough to get to, you know, only one aspect we want to see. Well, if we look at the table by default, okay, up here it has little drop downs. Okay, and these are filter items, filter drop downs. If we would want to get rid of those, okay, we could get rid of those by going over here to Data, and under Data you see the funnel that has filter on it, and it's pushed down, it's depressed, highlighted. If I wanted to get rid of it, I could. So if I had clicked on that, those are gone. And sometimes you do that before you print it, because sometimes those things obscure the heading, you know what I mean, like the header, so it can't hurt readability. But a lot of times we're using this in an online interactive format where we're interacting with it. So let's turn those back on just so that we have them. Let us filter this, and let's say we only want to see paintings. So what we would do is under the category drop down, you see down here it says select all. If I unselected select all and then just selected painting, I click OK, you'll see now it's only showing me paintings. Now that data, okay, that we had that was for sculptures and whatever the hell else we had in here is still there. You can tell that why, because look at the numbering. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Well, guess what row 5 is? Row 5 is not a painting. And then it goes 6 to 13. So the data is still there, but we're filtering it so we only see certain aspects of it. Okay? And sometimes, perhaps, I want to do two of these things. I want to see paintings that are only in good condition. So I'm going to go over to condition, and let's say I want to just check things that are in good condition. So I want to see paintings that are in condition good. Okay, now we are down to these 8 records. Okay, so down here in the status bar, you see it shows us 8 of 115 records match that condition. So that gives us some information there as well. And I'll show you another thing we can do. Let's clear those filters. Okay, so if I click on that and say clear filter from category, that's gone. If I click on that and say clear filter from condition, that's gone. Okay, so now I'm back to all 115 rows. We can also sort, and I know you guys know how to sort. I've done this before, but let's go into let's do some sorting, and then I'm going to show you some other things we can do with sorting. If we go up here to data, and under sort and filter, let's go to the sort dialog. And I know you all sorted before, but let's do a primary and a secondary sort. So let's sort by location, and then within location we want to sort by condition. So let's go sort by location, and we're going to do that A to Z, alphabetical. And I'm going to add a level and also sort it by condition. And let's leave it as A to Z. And click OK. So now you'll see in the courtyard we have what looks like 5 excellent items and 1 good item. In the East Pavilion, we have a bunch of excellent items: fair, good, poor. Now, what issue do you note with how we think of these condition of items and how Excel is showing them? It's going from excellent to fair to good to poor, okay, which is how the alphabet goes, right? But that's not how we think of things, right? We think of, as far as ratings, we think of excellent, good, fair, poor, okay, for these conditions as a ranking, as our, as an ordinal type of data. So what we want to do, okay, is let's go back up to sort, and instead of using, okay, the order A to Z, which is, very useful and handy, and there's also Z to A, let's go in here and go to custom list. Okay, you guys see custom list? Okay, and we can build our own custom list. There are several custom lists for things like the days of the week, obviously. Sometimes you want them Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, instead of just alphabetically. The day, the months, all those kind of things. But we're going to build our own new list. So you see where we're on? It's on new list. If I click on that, it should put my cursor into list entries. And here's where I can say sorted how I want it sorted. Not by alphabetical, but in the way I want it sorted. So I'm going to put here excellent. Hit enter. I'm going to write good, fair, and poor. And click add. And now you'll see not only did it add it to our custom list, but it selected it. So if we click OK, and we click OK, you see up here where it says excellent, good, fair, poor. Now under the East Pavilion, it says excellent, good, fair, poor, which is more natural in the way we think about it, right? Not the other order, okay? That's the more natural order, but it's not alphabetical. So we could do that for a lot of things. A lot of different things may be sorted that way. Let us also, I don't think we did this before. Leave that alone for now. One other thing, let's add under table tools. You'll see, well, I guess I'm not in table tools, but if we click back on our table and go to design, one thing that we don't have turned on, but I'm going to turn on, is a total row. So let's turn on the total row. Okay, and it generates a row for us. It only really does anything with really the numeric data. So it's adding up the appraised value. You guys see the appraised value there? If I want, I can also, there's other functions I can do. By default, it's sum. It's adding up. So the appraised value of those things is $1,118,223. If I also want to count the number of items, let's just pick any row or any column. Let's go under artist. And you see, because if you're in the table, the total row, it gives us a little drop down. And if I click on the drop down, it tells me what? It tells me I can go and select count. So now in there it gives me a count. So there's 115 items. The total $1.1 million. This can be useful as well, especially when I want to say, like, okay, well, what's the value of items I have that are poor? So I could go in here and say, well, let's just show me the poor items, and select OK. And I have 5 poor items, and they total $12,650. Or if I want to go into here and say, okay, how about poor items in the East Pavilion? Okay, there's only 4 items, and they total $12,000. So I really can get into some of the nuances here. We talk about, let's clear those filters. So I'm going to go up here and clear this filter, and I'm going to clear the location filter. And as we talked about filters, there are a couple things that I forgot to mention. So I have everything unfiltered at this point. You guys have everything unfiltered at this point, yes? Okay. There are filters that we can filter by item, but there's also specific filters for the type of data it is. So if we go to appraised value, let's go to appraised value here. And it has on the bottom all the values. We can look at $250 items, $300 items, but that's probably not very good when we think about numbers. Let's say we want to see the things that are, I don't know, between $1,000 and $5,000. Okay, we want to look in that intermediate range. So what we can do is select number filters, and let's do greater than. You can see all the options. Equals, so we can look for a certain value. Does not equal, so value is not equal to that. Let's do between. And I think I said what? Greater than or equal to 1,000 and less than and equal to 5,000. And I click OK. And now it's only showing me the 40 records or the 40 items that are in that range. And I can do less than a value, greater than a value. You saw all those number filter options. They're quite any way you want to think of it. Top 10, above average items, so like conditional formats almost. Greater than or equal to So let's clear that filter. So that's a number filter, which is nice. We can also do text filters. So let's go over to the title, which is text data, and click on the drop down and go to text filter. And what's nice about this is I can search for different string combinations in that text. I could find ones that begin with a certain word or begin with a certain letter, ends with a certain letter. Just because I don't know what's all in here, let's say ones that contain the word the. I don't know. Let's just say contains. And we only want to see items that contain the word the, or titles that contain the word the. I click OK, and it returns the hang, homage to the ancestors, and end of the path. So everyone that contains the. There's 21 of 115 records. And what's nice, we still have our total row. If we go down, we can still see, hey, that's 21 items, blah, 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 the total amount. Let's clear that filter. So we did text filters, we did number filters. Another common type of data we have in tables is dates, right? So let's look at date acquired, and there are date filters. And you know, one of the more common one would probably be just the year, right? In those, it's a year. So we're showing 2013. I could go down there and say I only want to see items from a certain year, 2008, 2011, whatever it might be. But I could also do specific dates. Okay, so you can see there's a lot here. Things that are today, tomorrow, yesterday, next week, last week. Let's say all dates in the period, custom filter. Let's do anything before. Let's do, I don't know, January or December 31st, 2010. Okay, so it's only showing us things before December 31st, 2010. I could have also, instead of putting in the date, on the right, far right, you see over there, kind of an ugly name for it, but it's a date picker, which is the calendar interface that you've seen so often. So we can go down here and say, before December 15th, 2010. You guys know how to work that. Okay, now, what can also be problematic when we talk about navigating a large data set is that I'm filtering things. Maybe it's real important to me to see that total column. Like I want to go through and say, okay, how about the things before 2010? What was the value? How many are there? Well, that total column is way down at the bottom, okay, which is kind of problematic for us. So what we can do is if we go down to that, that near that total column, and let's just pick, I don't know, let's just pick the row. Let's just go right before it. That doesn't matter, but let's go there. And let's go to view. Okay, we already did freeze panes, and I'll show you some other things later. But we can also do split. You see that split up there in that group? If I do split, okay, doesn't look like much has happened, but it has split my interface and made two vertical windows. So I have, if you notice on the right-hand side, I have scrollers for both of those windows. So the data, is actually, it is just a view into it. So if I want to always, down here be at the bottom, and I could, look at data acquired. I'm just going to clear that filter. Okay, you see, I can see now the bottom at all times, right? So that's kind of nice especially when I'm dealing with, records that have tens of thousands of rows. Okay, I didn't really follow the book real closely, so I'm going to look through it, make sure I got everything in this section before we move on. We did that. Oh, one thing we didn't do, but I'm sure you guys do know how to do this. If we go to the Home tab, let's go up to the top pane. Well, let's unsplit that. Let's go to View. Let's turn the split off. So all you do is hit that split button again, and it'll turn the split off. When we were talking about maintaining records in a table, sometimes these tables, as I said many times, are quite huge. So if we go to the Home tab, over in the editing group, there is a find and select. So let's find, I think they said there's one here that starts with, the book says moon. So let's find anything that has moon in the title. There's moonlight. Find next, there's the one we were looking for, and click close. So just a way to navigate the table a little bit quicker. It is a Microsoft interface, so you can also use Control and an F, just like you do in Word or PowerPoint or any Microsoft Office application. I think I'm going to end there. The next stuff talks about treating this as a range of data. So this is kind of a good cutoff. Stop talking about tables. We will talk about subtotaling next class. We'll also move on to pivot tables, which I know some of you have some experience with. And like I said, Module 5 stuff is not due yet. It'll be due following Monday, whatever that is, the 17th, I believe. So February 10th, you have 3 things due. You have the out-of-class quiz, Module 4, and the 2 out-of-class cases, I think, for Module 4, 1 and 4, okay? Any questions? Okay, thank you, and I will see you on Monday.